Hey modders, welcome back to ModifedRoll. We're sponsored by DM Dice. Use the code ModifedRoll or follow the link in the description to get 10% off all your adventuring needs. We're also sponsored by Arcanist Rum. Check them out and use code ModifedRoll to get 15% off all purchases and free shipping. So first of all guys, just really sorry about the delay on this episode. That was entirely my fault. I was trying to make some tweaks to our recording setup and unfortunately I made a bit of a mistake and all the audio we recorded for this originally was unusable, so we had to re-record it. That will also explain why this episode seems to be a little bit sort of narrative and exposition heavy. It's because we had already played through this once and I didn't want to make the guys to remake a load of rolls or fake a load of rolls. So the bits that happened, I just sort of skipped and narrated them as if it was, happened the way we'd done it the first time. So apologies, that sounds a bit odd, but I just want to make the guys sort of repeat the same things and pretend they were doing it for the first time. But that's enough about that. Let's get back into this episode. Last episode, the party fully investigated the underground lair they found themselves in. After discovering the source of the amethyst gems used in the mind-controlling jewellery, Cecil also came across something quite important. A fragment of Sardior, the god he follows. With this treasured artifact in his possession, the party left the lair and headed back to Carlin's estate. After catching up with Jace and the other nobles, they headed off for some well-needed relaxation. We rejoin them now in this, episode 34 of Season 2 of ModifedRoll, The Heroes of Keyrn. With your plans laid, you finish up in the tavern and head over to the spa. You go in and clean your wounds, your bodies, and relax your minds a little bit. As you're all sort of there, either washing or relaxing in the bath itself, just going through one by one. Cecil, what are you thinking about?
Well, I'm actually going to start up a conversation with Sinclair. Do you mind if I ask you something?
Sinclair at this point leaning on the back of the, with his arms up in the bath, sort of puts his head up. Shoot.
So you're quite close with your god, and Twilight's close as well, and I admire you two for that. And, seeing you at your festivities recently, had me wondering what do you do if you don't have access to a temple or something like that to pay your respects,
Oh well, that was not the sort of question I was expecting, Kaz. But well, for me, I look for just the little moments, like waking up in the morning, seeing the sun, thinking towards Paylor, in the small moments we can find. There's no right or wrong time to do it. It feels right, and the connection just feels there. It's funny though, you say I'm close with Paylor. He's given me guidance, but he's never directly spoken to me. But I don't know whether I suppose I sort of feel it as a failing, because some people tend to hear from their gods quite regularly.
But you have a strong connection with yours. Every battle we've been in, every decision you've made has been for Paylor, and you have that close respect. And I'm stuck because I don't have any. Sardior is a very mysterious god, shall I say? And so most people outside the island probably hasn't even heard of Sardior. I don't think most people on the island have heard of him. And so there's not really a temple I can just go to pay my respects.
Oh, indeed, but Oh, it's... That almost gives you a mission, which is... Like I tend to when I can, spread the word of Paylor, you spread the word of Sardior. Through you, Sardior becomes known. You are the messenger. No, I'm not saying you need to go and stand out in the street and, parade, and preach to the masses. Like, you don't need to preach to all the fellows who are in the bath right now. No, it's finding those little moments like this where you talk personally with people and people know about Sardior. I knew that you were on some sort of journey, but I didn't realize you were actually following a god. This was certainly news.
I feel like it feels like a huge task, because no one's ever been marked by Sardior that I can recall. So this is just uncharted waters for me. I'm lost. I don't know what to follow because there is nothing to guide.
Follow your own feelings. They'll lead you to the truth. You're on it. I think you're on the right path, and I tell you what, I think Sardior knows you're on the right path. The fact that you've found a piece of this ruby today proves it. Meeting up with us and sharing it with us so that we can help you along, you'll get there, and you'll discover what you'll need to do. But it takes time.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest with you, I was on a journey to the Holy Gate before meeting up with all of you, but I never really have an end goal. It was just the pilgrimage that followers of Paylor sometimes do. But I think meeting you all and we have a goal. As thrust upon us as it's become. It's given me a goal, and like you with Sardior, you're finding yours. As I say, with this ruby, you'll find it in time. And he'll put his arm around Kaz, give him the sort of the bro hug.
Not naked.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Schlong swinging in the water.
There's two dudes sitting in a hot tub 5 feet apart because they aren't gay. As that beautiful heart-to-heart is taking place, what are Twilight and Giliana doing on the other side? What are they? Are they talking? If not, we'll go through what you guys are thinking about.
How are you feeling, Twilight? I know earlier you said that you were struggling with what you'd seen in that other place, and is there anything that you wanted to talk about?
I'm not really sure. I think I'm still kind of processing it, because I guess we all saw different things, but they just felt so real that it was like, oh. And then, I didn't mention this before, but I saw myself at the end. I thought it was my mum, but it was me. And I was super powerful. And I was on top of this hill with all these stars around me, and everything was swirling, and I was like, whoa, I look dope as fuck. But also, I was still alone. And then I was always alone. It's a bit odd. But I don't know how to really process it. But
yeah.
Really. What about you? You saw your ex in your dream. That must have sucked.
Ooh. I mean, yeah, it wasn't great.
Honestly.
But I think for me, it didn't feel as real as what maybe everyone else thought, because I know those people. I've known them my whole life, and I may have looked it, but I knew that I didn't necessarily. I think I knew that I was gonna. It wasn't permanent, and that I had a way to get out of it. And there's no way I'd have gone home if I had disappointed. Like, if I failed, I'm not coming back. Do you know what I mean? Like that there's no going back for me. So the reactions are never going to happen for me because I just simply won't see them again, and that's the way I'm operating. But I know what you mean. Like,
yeah,
about you feeling alone, because I guess that's kind of what it was playing on, like trying to make me feel alone in the fact that I'd failed and lost the people I love. But
yeah,
finding you guys has been completely eye-opening and life-changing, and I'm glad for it. And I hope that it hasn't changed the way that you see the group, because that would not be good.
I don't think it has. I think the more I think about it, the more I understand that it isn't real, because, like, it's cycled through every person in my life who I've cared about or I thought has cared about me. And I'm like, realistically, timeline-wise, that doesn't add up. But you know when it just plays in your head and again and again. But I'm still happy to be with you guys. That weird bit of doubt. But then, you know, I don't know. Feels weird.
It was a weird experience, and I hope to never experience it again. And to be honest, I'm a bit worried that maybe this is what
honestly
everyone's feeling all the time when they have those rings on. Like,
oh my god, I hadn't even thought of that. Damn, we need to fuck this demon up. Like, it's such a dick.
it is a dick.
Wow. Really sage words from us.
It's definitely given me a new motivation to try and get to the bottom of what's going on.
Yeah.
And now that we've experienced that, I'm hoping that it will give us a way to help other people. And
yeah, I guess that's the goal. Also, nice job stealing that necklace. Oh, so good.
Thank you. I was pretty proud of myself, to be honest.
And that was so slick. You pulled it out and I was like, where did that come from? Oh my god. So good.
Thank you, Twilight. That means a lot. I may have to steal some more things in the future.
Yeah. I would love to see / not see it because you're so good.
Thanks.
And then I'm going to start doing, like, the backstroke where, like, you blow water out, like, do.
Don't get my hair wet. God damn.
I'm wearing a swimming cap.
You're wearing a swimming cap. I'm not.
No, tree.
So as you splash around, backstroking through the bath, you guys have your heart-to-hearts and eventually reconvene fully clothed, I hope, and dried off.
As far as you know.
As far as the listeners also know. And you head back to the tavern to rest and recover, and maybe you stay up for a few more drinks, maybe you all as a group chat. But regardless of what you do that evening, you do eventually head to bed, and as soon as your head's hit the pillow, you fall into that deep, heavy sleep of the truly exhausted, and you're awoken the next morning, well, at least Cecil and Sinclair are, by a knocking on their door.
It's not time for study. 5 more minutes.
Who is that?
Sirs, it's a message from Lord Fennec.
Sinclair, grasping the forehead from the ale the night before, will open the door. Yes, what is it, boy?
Morning, sirs. Lord Fennec has sent a missive. I was told to deliver it to you myself. And he reaches out a little letter.
Very good, very good. And Sinclair will look over to his pack, reach for a silver. There you go, boy. For your trouble.
Oh, thank you, sir. Much appreciated. And he heads off. You open the letter to find it's just a very brief message from Jace saying, Team, a wagon is being prepared, as well as paperwork. Lady Asper has informed me. I will be preparing a letter myself to be delivered to Belgravia. We will meet at the Emberhearth Gate Inn later this afternoon. Please take your time to prepare, and we will see you later today. Signed, Lord Fennec.
Sinclair will repeat the letter to Cazizal. Right, I'll go and wake the ladies. Sinclair, and then, bang,
If we
bang,
have to be
bang
awake,
on
we
the
have to
door.
be awake.
Come along, time to be up and at 'em.
You guys are woken by the banging of the door, and you hear from the little buttress in the roof as the little fairy dragon hisses to be woken this early in the morning as well.
Oh, God.
Sinclair, I know you worship the god of the sun, but why?
I was woken up this early, so everyone has to be up, I think. I think it's only fair.
That's not very paladinly.
My god's literally a sleeping god. I should be sleeping right now.
Because he's just appeared from right behind me.
Gilliana will get up because she's like, she wasn't actually asleep because she doesn't have to sleep.
Trance.
But she was like, she's more awake than Twilight, so she'll open the door.
Oh.
Yeah. You all in several states of tiredness or wakedness eventually are pried from your beds, and you are up with only a few hours left in Keyrn. I believe the plans were that Cazizal and Sinclair were going to head to Lord Harlow's estate. Gilliana, you had a letter to write, and then I believe you were all going to convene at the Brass Dragon's Hoard.
Yep. I might get some pastries
Bingo.
on the way too.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, as Sinclair and Cazizal make their way, obviously there's going to be a bit of travel there. Gilliana, you're preparing your letter. Did you want to tell us what was in the contents of the letter, or is that to remain a secret?
No, I will read it out. So, Gilliana will sit down at a desk. She'll dip her little quill into the ink. She'll start to write. And she says, "To Cyril, you're the worst. Like, literally the worst. But you're also the best friend I ever had. I miss you. I do, but I think you'd be proud of me. I've made some new friends, and they're the best, and I know what friendship is, and I know it's not what we had, and I know you know it too. I'm away from home for the foreseeable, but I have a more permanent address for now, so please write to me. Insert address of place that we don't actually have now yet.
We can say that
have
Lady Asper.
before.
We can say as part of the letter that Sinclair received this morning, we'll say that you were given at least the address from Lady Asper in that as well, just so you have something to give him for this letter.
Okay, so insert address. Tell me about home and you and the boys. I can't write them, it's too soon, but I trust you to tell me they're safe and how much they miss me, and to be discreet. I hope to hear from you soon. Anna, XO. And then she'll fold it up, she'll put it in a little envelope, and then, how do you do that here? Wax seal?
Yeah.
Make a little wax seal.
If I'm remembering correctly how this is done, you would scatter sand across the page to absorb all the wet ink, knock all that off, fold it up, seal it with wax, and I imagine there was some form of like envelope or something for like long transportation. We'll pretend there is. Quick question though: was Twilight attempting to read any of that over Gilliana's shoulder?
She probably tried it first, but then realised Gilliana was writing something like personal, so she's gonna avert thine eyes.
Well, bear in mind, one of the first things she wrote about was how Cyril was her best friend. How did that make Twilight feel?
Hence averting thine eyes. She's trying to not think about it. But I do have in my possessions I have letter writing supplies, so if you want to borrow wax seal, etc. from me, I got that.
There you go, that's probably where you got the wax seal from then. But yeah, you take that and you speak to the tavern owner, and they're able to arrange for that to be taken, to be delivered to the given address. So while that is being sorted, Sinclair, Cazisel, you arrive at Lord Harlow's estate. After being greeted at the door by one of the staff, you are taken around the outside of the estate to what is apparently a fully equipped and prepared training grounds. Not the normal fare for a noble's estate, but knowing Lord Harlow and his background, hardly a surprise. And as you move around the house, you are greeted by the ringing sound of training sword on sword or shield as combat grunts and yells ring out around you. Come on, man! Harder! Faster! Move it! Slap, crack, whack! And as you're brought around to the training grounds, you see Lord Harlow training with one of his sort of members of his, say, the military guard unit, whatever you want to call them, the men that he train in the middle of a training bout with several more on the side in their gear watching. What do you do when you arrive?
Sinclair sniffs the air. The smell of combat.
As if you didn't just nearly die yesterday.
It was ill. Exactly, yeah. He'll raise his hand and call out, Lord Harlow.
There's a stutter step from Lord Harlow, and before looking over to you, he waits for his opponent to raise his arm to swing, at which point he, with reflexes much faster than you would expect from a man of his age, swings the blade, the wooden sword he's wielding, cracks the man across the wrist, forcing him to drop the blade, and then just a very light tap on the side of the head, enough to sting, but not enough to harm him. And he said, "Not quite good enough yet, lad. Come on." And he pushes him towards the gate. "Sinclair, nice of you to join us. I assume you're here to get your ass kicked."
I couldn't resist a challenge from you, old man. As I'm leaving, I had to indulge.
"Well, allow this old man to teach you something, whippersnapper. Come on, get in here."
Sinclair enters the ring.
You're provided with a training sword, much, much lighter than you're used to, obviously. But the two of you go back and forth, Lord Harlow shouting encouragement. "That's it, lad! Harder! Come on, move those feet!" And you trade blows back and forth. You occasionally manage to land one on him, causing a surprised yell, at which point he would push harder. And after time, you sort of begin trading. After trading blows for several minutes, you realize that he is very quickly becoming accustomed to your movements, and it becomes harder and harder to land a hit, until by the end, he lowers his blade, panting, and said, "Well, you're good, lad, but unfortunately, you've still got a long ways to go. You're welcome back here any time to try again."
Sinclair, wipes the sweat off his brow. I'll admit you're okay. Yes. I'll come back when you've trained a bit more, Lord Harlow, I think. Yeah, not quite up to my skill.
And you say, as you're wiping the sweat away, breathing heavily, you can see he's breathing hard, but his is very much controlled, and he's barely even broken a sweat at all, and he just laughs like, "Put a few more years of experience behind you, lad, and you might just catch up." And as you're heading out the door, he smacks you in the backside with the wooden blade. "Come on, you've got preparations to make for your departure."
Sinclair will turn around. "I'll get you, old man, I will."
Yes, come on. And he sort of ushers you out of the training grounds. After taking off the armor, returning the sword, you exchange a few gentle words with him. And he sort of, to both you and Cazisel, "Lads, I only wish your welcome to Keyrn was more of the normal fare. These are troubling times for all of us, and I'm truly sorry that you've been caught up in it. Burdens like these should not fall upon the shoulders of one so young. And I can only pray to all the gods that would listen that they'll watch over you. I am hoping that once you've delivered the message to Belgravia, that will be the end of your job. But I have a feeling that the fates, the gods, anyone out there has different plans for you. Just know you'll always be welcome here, and I'm always willing to offer help, even if it is from an old decrepit man like me."
I'll always take help from those who are willing to lend it, Lord Harlow. And Sinclair will put his hand out.
And he does that warrior's grip where he takes your forearm and squeezes and does a brief shake. And I'll always take the help of a young whippersnapper who thinks much highly of himself.
Tough words for a man breathing so hard.
Again, barely breathing hard at all. If you insist, lad. Now, you've only got a few hours, I believe, before Lord Jace has told us to be ready for your departure, so go on. I'm sure you have other things to do in the city. You didn't have much time here to see it, so get the last look in while you can.
We will. And we will see you again, Lord Harlow, and Sinclair will bow as he leaves.
And he bows, not quite as deeply, but still bows to you back. Of course, lad. I'll make sure of it. Now, go on. And you guys head off. I assume at this point you plan to all convene at the Brass Dragon's Hoard?
Mm-hmm.
To the smut shop.
Of course.
You guys head to the Brass Dragon's Hoard, and the little bell tinkles as you enter. And again, you see Hesmira, the gnome proprietor, sort of leaning on the counter with a book open in front of her, and she looks up with her big spectacles and peers over them. It's like, "Oh, welcome back! You're already in here the other day. You need another book already?"
Indeed, Hesmira, we are leaving Keyrn. And
Oh, I'm sad to hear it. You've not been here long at all.
I know. The fates have not allowed us to stay in the city very long, but we'll probably come back one day. You haven't seen the last of us.
Oh, I hope not.
But as such, we thought we needed a souvenir for the road.
Oh, we're looking for another book to take. Well, actually, we just got something special in, just off the presses. And she gestures, and there's like a little glass display case that's obviously used for like new releases or like pricey releases. You want to take a look at this? Apparently everybody's talking about it, raving, so I've heard. And you see propped up on a little stand a book cover displaying a red tiefling with very little clothes on, and a sort of pale, like lilac blue tiefling, almost white, pearlescent, almost sort of lounging back in their arms. It's called Polishing the Pearl. I hear the author is very well regarded in certain circles. And as you get closer, you can see that the author is Francis P. Flaps.
I think that sounds perfect, Hesmira. We'll take 4 copies. Yes.
Oh, excellent. Let me bag them up for you. Then she shuffles around behind the counter and pulls out 4 fresh copies and loads them up into a little paper bag for you all. That'll be, as these are new releases, they're a little bit more expensive, so that'll be 8 silver pieces for the 4 of them.
Sinclair will hand over the money.
Yeah, cool. You have now purchased 4 copies of Polishing the Pearl, designs for which can be found on stickers and shirts in the ModifedRoll store on Redbubble or Tmall.
Nice plug.
Featuring gorgeous art by Treble Jeff, our gorgeous artist. But you've picked up your book. Anything else you want to do in the Brass Dragon's Hoard before you leave?
Hesmira, this is an odd question. I don't mean to sound rude asking, but we're going to Belgravia, the capital, and I don't suppose you know of any good bookshops there, just to get our fix.
Oh, you don't say. Well, I can't say anything to good bookshops, but I do know of one bookshop there, in fact.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, it's actually, it's run by my sister.
Ah, a competitor.
Yeah, cantankerous old bitch. Yeah, she opened a shop in Belgravia, stole my name and everything. She's called it the Copper Dragon's Hoard. So if you go in there, you tell her I called her a cantankerous old bitch, and that I sent you to tell her that.
Okay.
On your behalf, we will.
Perfect. I've written that down.
All these bookstores really like their dragons, don't they?
Well, like I say, she stole my name. I set this place up, thought Brass Dragon's Hoard, because the Brass Dragons love books and knowledge, and that's what they collect for their hoard. I thought it was genius. And she comes along, and suddenly her shop's called the Copper Dragon's Hoard. Bitch. No, not a single original idea in her head. I'll tell you that for free.
Well, we'll certainly keep that in mind, and of course, we'll go to the inferior bookshop, but we'll always be thinking of here.
I hope so, dear. It has been a mighty fine pleasure to have you in my establishment, and I only hope you'll grace us with your presence again in the future. I'm sad to see you going. In fact, actually, as you've been so kind, She rummages around behind the back of the counter and she pulls out these little carved wooden bookmarks in the shape of a little caricature, what we would consider like a caricature, so it's kind of almost cartoonish carving of a little dragon lying on top of a pile of books. I was like, here, take these with you and think of me every time you're reading from my cantankerous old bitch of a sister's books.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate that.
We'll treasure them.
I hope so. Now, go on. I've kept you long enough. I'm assuming you guys head on back to the tavern then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably early afternoon at this point, so you know that Jace and the others should be on their way soon. So you post up in the tavern, get all of your gear together, and are ready to leave as soon as they arrive. And their arrival is preceded by the rumbling of a cart on the cobblestones outside. And as you step out into the street, you see a standard travelling wagon, sort of an open back with like a slatted seat on the front, being pulled by a pair of horses, with a bunch of supplies for travel in the back. Lord Jace, Lady Asper, and Lord Harlow arrive in a carriage, all travelling together after this. And as they all step down, you exchange pleasantries and greetings, and eventually Lord Fennec turns to you all and says, yes, this is, of course, is the wagon we've prepared. We've provided enough provisions to get you to Belgravia and some to spare in case of emergencies. And we assume you would know the way, but just in case, we have provided a map detailing the route to take to get there. We have also prepared these, and he pulls out a couple of pieces of parchment, several of which are sealed. The first one he hands to you sealed and says, this is my letter to the king. If you can, please deliver it to him personally, but I know that the scribes in the courts may wish to view it first, in which case allow them to, so long as you're within the royal capital itself, and as long as it's viewed by one of the royal scribes, that shouldn't be an issue. But do try to make sure that one of them reads it in your sight. I would be loath if the letter went missing. Second of all, and he pulls out another letter. This one just sort of doesn't have, it just has like a standard wax seal on it. The other one was like bound up with proper noble seals and tassels and stuff to like show that it was like an actual missive. The other one is just a single letter. If you are able to, I would be appreciative if when in the city you could deliver this to my father. You don't have to do so by hand. Just take it to one of the couriers and they should be able to deliver it to him. And you can see there is it's got all the details for the delivery address written on it. And finally, this is from Lady Asper, who sort of nods next to him. This is all of the paperwork and documents you'll need to take control. I say take control. She's obviously allowing you to make use of it while you're there, but it will allow you to gain access to the Asper estate in the capital, as well as all of the staff that we needed to keep the place running. Lady Asper steps forward and is like, yes, I would just ask that you take care of it, and obviously don't make too much work for the staff. Several of them, I'm sure, will be more than happy to just have work to do again. Others, I'm sure, will probably have a bit of an issue serving someone other than the family themselves. But everything here is in order, and you should not run into any legal issues with this.
Thank you so much. It's such an honour that you're entrusting us with your home, and we promise to take the very best care of it while we're there.
She gives a very deep nod. I appreciate that, and please, if you ever wish to, you can write to us here in Keyrn, and we will do what we can to assist from a distance. But I imagine if you manage to meet with the king or any of his scribes, you will be given either leave to do as you wish, or maybe tasked with something further to do. I can only hope it is the former, because you have all already done so much for all of us. And Lord Fennec steps up and is like, yes, and I know I speak for all of us here when I say that we are so grateful from the bottom of our hearts for what you have done. It has been a shocking revelation for us all, and it has shaken us all to the core that something like this could happen here. So we appreciate what you've done, and We only hope that we can repay you in kind.
We hope that we can get this sorted as quickly as possible.
Yes, we will root out the evil that is infecting this country. I promise you, Jace. I promise you.
We appreciate that. But we've lingered too long on the negatives. You have done something great here, and it deserves to be celebrated. And I can hope that the journey onward to Belgravia is a simple one, at least. And I have sent word ahead, and I have marked on the map the inns that we have marked will put you up, and all charges will be sent to the Fennec household. A little something else to ease your way. But for now, please, we have tarried too long. It will be dark before you have left the city at this point. And he steps aside and allows you guys all to mount up. And as you load up the last of your equipment and board and climb upon the wagon, there is much waving and farewells, some teary eyes as you begin to head out of Keyrn. You've only been here for a few days, but already so much has happened, and it has already become integral to your growth as individuals and as a party. And it is, I think, needless to say, emotional to leave so soon. But you work your way back down the path, the way you travelled here from Knight's Valor. It seems a much different journey on the way back without the stress of, well, I'm sure you're all still a little bit stressed, but without the need to get here immediately to ask for assistance. And as you head your way back contemplative and considering what Knight's Valor might even look like now, having known the situation you left it in, you're a few days out when Twilight, you sat up front on the wagon seat, spot just off the road, hanging from a tree branch, around about where you guys left the road to stay in the forest where you met the unicorn. You see something catching the sunlight, something bright and shining like starlight. And as you have the wagon stop and you jump off to go and look, you find, and don't giggle at this because I'm pretty sure it's what they're called, you find a fetish sort of tied together using the unicorn's hair. And you realize immediately, just from the look and the light shining off of it, that this is made from the hair of a unicorn, and most probably the one that you've met here in this forest. And as you climb back onto the wagon, you spend some time studying it, and after an hour or so, you realize that this is, of course, magical, and it will allow you to summon a spectral unicorn mount for a limited period of time.
So sick!
Would you try to use it immediately, I imagine?
Yeah, I'll see how it... I'll be like, guys, look at this.
As you channel your magic into it, it flows out from this fetish, and it appears like starlight forming in the air in front of you, and you see this constellation form that sort of builds up into the shape of a unicorn, and the space around it fills in with that sort of nebulous sort of purples, greys, and purples, blues, and lilacs and pinks that form this like aurora that fill out the rest of the shape as the constellation creates the structure of the form. And standing before you is this starlight unicorn.
Oh my gods. Guys.
It's very you, Twilight, I must say.
I'm gonna shit myself. This is insane.
Twilight says as
Please
she's
don't.
riding the unicorn like around the wagon.
I don't think the unicorn would appreciate that.
Obviously, I will get you the full details of this item. It is not a real
Amazing.
unicorn. It can't communicate with you, but you can sort of control it telepathically, and it only lasts for a certain length of time. So after a while, it begins to fade, and you feel the magic pulled back into that fetish that you're carrying.
I'll jump back onto the... Because I guess I'll have rode it next to the cart for a while, and then I'll jump back on.
So as you eventually make it back to Knight's Valor, you see the city, or you see the town in a much different sort of ambience, a much different environment to what you saw before. Where before, as you left that sort of oppressive feeling had already begun to lift, that now it is a much more vibrant and lively place. You can hear shouting and yells of a sort of bustling crowd, and as you come in, several people in the crowd recognise all of you, and a cheer goes up, and you spend that night inside the walls of Knight's Valor speaking with the members of the city that you'd worked with to defend it from that sorcerer who had attacked it before. A feast is held in your honour, and you are well fed and well watered for the evening as you regale them all with what little bits you feel free to share about what happened in Keyrn.
The Lich story, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah,
the Lich Slayers.
That one is literally like told several times, I imagine. You spend that evening relaxing, and again finding that joy that has become not so much fleeting. You've experienced these moments of celebration several times recently, but after what happened the last couple of days, this one is specifically exceptionally poignant. To feel this after those fears that you faced before, those nightmares, that sort of dichotomy of extreme lows to this extreme high gives you a new appreciation for how they fit, like how this feels to you and how much this actually means to your well-being. And after all that, the party winds down, you relax, and with the break of the sun the next day, you head on your way to Belgravia, to lands unknown to some of you, and a story waiting to unfold. And that's where we're going to end the first arc of Season 2 of Modified Roll. Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks very much for sticking with us. As usual, I would just like to thank Lixie B for our wonderful logo, and Jeff for all of the fantastic art for our characters in Season 2. Don't forget, you can check out more of Jeff's work on our online store, where you can find his artwork used on our stickers and t-shirts. Also, a massive shout out to the Stormweather Shanty Choir for allowing us to use their song Drunken Sailor as our intro and outro music. Also, a massive thank you to our wonderful sponsors DN Dice and Arcanist Rum. Find links to both of their websites in our description. And finally, a massive shout out and thank you to all of our Patreon supporters who continue to support us in everything we do. Your support means the world to us, and we hope that we can go on making fantastic content thanks to you. So we actually do have a recommended podcast today, so I'm going to get that out of the way before I have a few special messages. The recommended podcast for this episode is the Rolldark podcast. As you guys have probably heard me mention a couple of times, I'm pretty sure I have it in the outros most of the times now, I'm a professional GM in my spare time now, because I apparently had too much free time on my hands. But Rolldark have just released their podcast. It's called Tales from the Tables, with an S, and they are featuring stories from some of the professional DMs from Rolldark, from the recent games they've been playing. So some of the guys will either come on a guest, or they'll send in stories, and the guys who are hosting will read the stories out. But they also have general sort of news in the RPG sphere. They talk about new releases from Wizards of the Coast and other RPGs. They were in the second episode, I think they spent a bit of time talking about things like the new Avatar: The Last Airbender RPG. So there's a lot of cool stuff there to listen to. It's quite interesting and fun. Obviously I'm a bit biased as I'm part of the group who are making it, but it has been a very interesting listen and I've quite enjoyed it, and I'm going to make sure I stay up to date on it. So go and check them out. That is Tales from the Tables, created by Rolldark. But before we go, as I mentioned in the last episode, this is the finale of the first arc of Season 2, and it has been an absolute blast making this. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to it, and I hope you're eager for more. Like I said, we will be having a short break. We have a couple of bonus episodes planned. We've already recorded the one we've done with Kimberly from The Tales Were True. I say from The Tales Were True as if you guys are going to know what that is, other than me talking about it. It is an upcoming D&D 5e setting set in the UK, in air quotes, in a sort of a fantasy history where all of the tales that were told to you, all the folk tales and fairy tales, were true. It was a super fun little game. We were only, I think, level 2 or level 3, so it was a nice low-level game, quick one-shot. It was supposed to be all of us playing. Unfortunately, Jordan took ill, and Maddie could not get her internet to work because of the heat. And it ended up being myself, Pete, and Danny, but I had a blast playing it, and I hope you guys enjoy listening to it. That is going to be our next 2 episodes, hopefully. After that, I'm currently trying to organise a little bonus game with some of the podcasts that we've guested with before. But that's still in the planning stages, so hopefully that'll come next. If not, I'll let you know in the upcoming episodes what's happening. And we're also trying to record a special episode with our newest sponsor. Hopefully, again, we'll get all this fitted in. If not, it is going to happen, just maybe a little bit further down the line. But finally, I just want to thank everyone who's made this new season as good as it has. Well, I say as good as it has been. Again, very biased. But I really enjoyed making this season, guys. I really got into DMing a few years ago, and getting to do that for the podcast now has been fantastic. Obviously, Liam did such a good job on season 1, and it was just, it just didn't work out that we're going to keep playing in that story the way we did. So it was quite daunting picking that up for season 2, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as season 1. And I have to thank the players. Guys, this episode specifically editing, there's a whole chunk of this where I just don't speak. Sort of Pete, Jordan, Maddie, Danny, they all get so well into their characters. They've done such a good job developing them, and I just want to let you guys know how much I appreciate them, and I hope you're enjoying listening to them as much as I do when I'm both playing and editing these. It's just such a phenomenal time with these guys. So please jump in our Discord, catch us on Twitter and Instagram, tell them how much of an amazing job they're doing, because I cannot say it enough myself. And finally, we have been so blessed to have Treble Jeff. Jeff just has done such a fantastic job with all the art that we've commissioned for this season, the character art, all the art we've made for the promotional material, the stickers and t-shirts. The You Can Certainly Try t-shirt has become the only t-shirt I will wear when I'm DMing in person. I specifically will wear it, come home, and wash it immediately if I know I'm DMing again later that week. It looks so good, guys. Please, 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 please go out and buy some of his stuff. It's on our T-mail, it's on our Redbubble. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but we actually have an arrangement with Jeff. Like, we're so happy with the work he does that actually 50% of all of the sales of our merch with his art on it, he gets 50% of all of that. It's not just all coming to us. We're splitting all the royalties for those with him. I say royalties, you know what I mean. Please support Jeff, also us, obviously. Please support us as well. God, I need to promote ourselves better. And finally, we could only afford to get all that art. We can only afford to do what we're doing and continue to produce the way we do, get the music for the soundtracks. And God, I hope you guys like the soundtracks and sound effects. I put so much work into those. God, please like them. But we can only afford to get all of that shit and do what we're doing because of the guys on our Patreon. Guys, if you're still listening to us and you just haven't forgotten that you're supporting us, and it's just sort of coming out of your account every month, you haven't noticed, if you're still listening, God, guys, we cannot thank you enough. You're all so supportive, and it means so much to us to have you guys supporting and listening to us. But I'm looking at the recording of this just ticking up. This outro is going to be so long. God, stick around, please, guys. We do have a promo at the end once I finished finally talking here. But once again, the last people I have to thank are you guys, whether or not you're supporting us through Patreon, whether or not you're in the Discord or on the Twitter, the fact that you're listening, guys, thank you so much. We would make this just for ourselves, although if I knew people weren't listening, I probably wouldn't spend so much time picking the right music. But it means the world to us that you're listening to us. I've seen our numbers steadily increasing, and it just means the world to us that more and more people are picking us up and sticking with us, more importantly. So, if you've picked us up for season 2, or if you've been here since season 1, thank you, guys. I really do hope you're enjoying this. And please feel free to come and tell us if you want to see something done differently. I'm always trying to improve. And don't forget, one of the bonus bits of content we're meant to be putting out, which I should have mentioned at the bit where I was talking about bonus content, is hopefully a Q&A episode. If you have any questions, like I've said before, about the podcast, about the game, about the world, about the characters, about us as people, like, if you want to know what our favourite colour is, mine's purple. Oh shit, I've spoiled that now, you need to ask the question first. But like, if you want to know something about us, come and ask us. Just, don't make it weird. But thank you guys so much. And thank you to the players. If any of you guys have bothered listening back to this and stuck through all of this, thank you guys for playing in these games for me. I could just sit here and talk into a mic for 4 hours by myself, but it's you guys coming and playing the game and you guys listening that make this a podcast. So, thanks very much for sticking with us, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Welcome, I'm Bastet. I'll be running your operation. The project's official name is the Adventurers Research of Abnormal Civilian Experiences, or Project Arrowace for short, to investigate the unusual occurrences that have been happening everywhere recently. I've hired you all for your indisputable military prowess.
I'm going to be honest, I think we should run.
Your academic expertise.
I don't know, I'm not a wizard in real life.
And your hands-on experiences.
Tentacles belong in the ocean!
I also lost all my food, so Delphi, in a few hours you might start looking really delicious.
Okay. Can everyone please roll for initiative?
Oh, I nearly cussed so hard.
Deck of Many Aces is an actual play podcast made by an all-aromantic and asexual cast and crew. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen to podcasts, releasing every other Friday. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Deck of Many Aces.